Well, good morning, everybody, and good day from all different parts of the world. Welcome back to the CIB Presidential Seminar Series that we broadcast from Purdue University. As you all are aware, we are doing panel discussions this season, and the topics are, of course, all related to how the built environment community can influence the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. And today, again, we have a very distinguished panel to talk about the role of facilities management for achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. So let me introduce our panel as we proceed further. We have three distinguished panelists. The first, Professor Ted Widener. He comes to us from Purdue University in the US. He's a specialist in facilities management. He brings over 3 decades of leadership experience in higher education facilities management across 6 institutions. Currently a faculty member in the Lyell School of Civil and Construction Engineering at Purdue University. Dr. Widener is spearheading the development of a facilities and infrastructure program, having created 5 new courses focused on the life cycle engineering of constructed facilities. His research interests are centered on the cost of maintenance and increasing the value of facility operations. He consults and teaches on facility issues regularly throughout the United States. Professor Widener has been active in the development and improvement of several building codes and standards since 2000. He leverages his knowledge in the AEC industry to identify opportunities for improvement through the application of new technologies and processes. Dr. Widener is deeply involved in professional organizations, notably APPA, Leadership in Educational Facilities, where he served 6 years on the Educational Facilities Professional Certification Board, edited the operational guidelines for building maintenance, 3rd edition, and contributed to the APPA 1000 total cost of ownership standards. His work within the International Facility Management Association includes leading the US delegation to ISO TC 267, contributing to the development of international standards such as ISO 41001, 41011, 41013, 41015, and also 41016. Our second panelist is Professor Niluka Domingo. She comes to us from Massey University in New Zealand. And I must point out that it's presently 3:30 a.m. in New Zealand. So we really thank you for taking the time for this panel. Dr. Domingo is an associate professor at the School of Built Environment at Massey University in New Zealand, with a background encompassing both industry and academia. She is a leading researcher in sustainable construction with an extensive academic career. Dr. Domingo holds a PhD in construction management from Loughborough University in the UK, a BSc honors in quantity surveying, and a member of, she's also a member of the New Zealand Institute of Quantity Surveying, MNZIQS. She also serves as one of the coordinators on CIB Task Group TG 124, which stands for Net Zero Carbon Building Design and Construction, and is the current research lead at the School of Built Environment at Massey University. For the past 15 years, Dr. Niluka has been at the forefront of active research, concentrating on key areas such as zero carbon initiatives, construction waste minimization, circular economy practices, and sustainable construction methodologies. Our third distinguished panelist is Professor Ines Flores-Colen. She comes to us from Instituto Superior Técnico in Portugal. She's also one of the leading entities in W086, or the Working Commission 86 on building pathology. Professor Ines Flores-Colen brings over 27 years of professional and academic experience in civil engineering, with a particular focus on building pathology and maintenance. Following 6 years in the construction industry, she transitioned to academia, where her research has centered on the performance, durability, and sustainability of building materials. Her work includes the development of advanced thermal insulation systems, and the incorporation of waste into composite materials. Efforts grounded in life cycle assessment methodologies as well. So she currently serves as a full professor at the construction scientific area at the Department of Civil Engineering, Architecture, and Environment at the Instituto Superior Técnico at University of Lisbon, and a researcher at CERIS, which is Civil Engineering Research and Innovation for Sustainability. Professor Flores-Colen has led numerous national and international research initiatives, supervised a broad spectrum of postgraduate and postdoctoral scholars, and maintains active collaboration with national and international institutions. Her scholarly output has earned her over 3,000 citations and an H index of 32 on Scopus. In the domain of facility management, she has participated in European and international standardization committees, including CEN TC348, ISO TC267, and she's also a long-standing member of the CIB Commission, as I mentioned, on facilities management and maintenance, as well as building pathology. Her impact extends beyond academia to professional training, editorial leadership, and scientific dissemination. She was recently named an honorary member of GECORPA, which is a national nonprofit association dedicated to the pathology, conservation, and rehabilitation of the built environment. So please welcome our distinguished panelists. And with that brief introduction, let me hand it over to Professor Widener to share his thoughts to kick off the panel discussion. Ted, over to you.
Right. Thank you. And I will be, okay, here we go. First, I want to thank the members of the ISO working group that joined me in the development of the material that I'm presenting today, and in particular, Suzanne Balslev Nielsen from Technical University of Denmark, who contributed a great deal. I will be presenting material from one of the ISO documents that has been developed over the last 2 years. The ISO Technical Committee 267 began work in 2012 with a meeting in Berlin that has met annually since then in nations around the world. Divided into 9 different working groups, the committee has developed several standards over the years, some of which are seeing their 5-year revisions and updates. The first standard, 4111, vocabulary, laid the foundation for subsequent standards addressing different aspects of facility management. I have been active on 41001, the Management System Standard, or PDCA for facility management, among others. Other standards have addressed areas important to facility management or to individuals working on the committee. Due to timing, 41017, Emergency Preparedness, was initiated during the pandemic. Today's discussion will focus on 41019, a technical report on how the facility management standards support the UN SDGs. Beginning with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, the 2030 Agenda focuses on people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnership. It seeks to end poverty and hunger, protect the planet from degradation, ensure prosperity for all, foster peaceful and inclusive societies, and strengthen global solidarity. This flowchart of the Sustainable Development Goals coincides with facility management functions that address virtually every area of the developed world and the people within it. The UN SDGs and environmental sustainable goals feed the demand organization, that is the company that facility management works for, the primary function of the business that FM serves. Think of a university as a demand organization which has the mission to teach, conduct research, and provide service within and beyond the university. The demand organization needs a built environment, typically buildings, but may include roads, water distribution and collection, other utilities, and other areas of the built environment. Within the built environment, there must be a facility management strategy and policies that define the daily and annual operations to operate and maintain the built environment. Ideally, these will also have performance management measures and allow for continuous improvement steps, also called PDCA. The built environment then leads to areas of efficiency and productivity, livability and affordability, and resilience and adaptability. These three areas provide for quality of life. The facility management organization has three areas of focus: people, place, and process. Each of these three areas has several different portions of the UN SDGs that are addressed through the different standards. These areas of focus will be discussed further with the appropriate SDG. Looking at people, the facility manager can support job creation and ensure fair environmental standards, fair environmental terms, conditions, remunerations, and contract administration. Here we go. Excuse me. I got to get these things straight. All right. Once again, on people, the FM can affect an inclusive society through indirect employment. So it supports the creation and ensures fair terms, conditions, remunerations, and contract administration. The facility manager, via direct employment and contract work, can affect a fair and more inclusive society because of its low threshold for participation and access to remunerations and indirect reference. The FM can configure supply chains, food storage, catering services, and waste management. The FM can influence catering procurement and in turn support sustainable supply chains, change consumption patterns, affect healthy choices, and reduce food waste impacting people's lifestyle. Again, an indirect condition. Indoor environments, quality, including air, temperature, humidity, noise, light, smells, CO2 levels, and so on. This directly contributes to the health, safety, and workplace culture of end users. The facility manager can promote a healthy, diverse, and sustainable workplace, which enhances the organizational vitality and supports a positive culture and leads to better performance regardless of location. The design, delivery, and maintenance of educational facilities, plus professional and technical competence development and training programs, are accomplished and address SDG 4. Campus FM can enhance the access to quality education and lifelong learning experiences for all stakeholders across all academic and technical areas. The FM can also affect the design, delivery, and maintenance of equitable facilities, contributing to human resource recruitment and retention, and promoting an appropriate workplace culture for teams, employees, contractors, and end users. The design, delivery, and maintenance of workplace strategies, appropriate facilities, and space management contribute to SDG 8. The FM supports the workplace across various sectors and industries, hence is a significant economic multiplier. And related to people and SDG 10, the FM ensures access and equity for all in terms of organizations, procedures, and facilities across locations. The facility manager employs and contracts which can be a practical mechanism for reducing inequality in the workplace. Looking at place, the FM can assist with the design, delivery, and maintenance of water services, sanitation, and infrastructure. The facility manager can monitor the usage and quality of water within organizations and across the built environment to ensure access to clean water and sanitation, promoting safe and healthy lifestyles. The design, delivery, and maintenance of affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy services and infrastructure can also be accomplished. The facility manager plays an active role in the sustainable utilization of energy within organizations, interacting with sustainable utilization of energy within organizations, interacting with supply agencies, monitoring consumption, promoting smart metering, and achieving performance ratings. Also, the design, delivery, and maintenance of resilient infrastructure and sustainable facilities, service and technologies fostering innovation. The facility manager can be used to leverage innovations and fundamentally infuse sustainable initiatives into the organization's operations. And lastly, affecting place and SDG 11, the design, delivery, and maintenance of an inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable built environment to optimize facility life cycles. The facility manager is directly responsible for managing the built environment, impacting on livability, sustainability, resilience, and affordability. The FM can contribute to responsible land use, rehabilitation, waste streams, and a sustainable built environment while respecting terrestrial ecosystems. After climate change, diminishing biodiversity is the next great challenge. The facility manager can prioritize approaches that provide for enhanced harmony between the built environment and nature. In process, the facility manager can ensure supply chains and procurement practices are used as a basis for effective decision-making for efficient demand and supplier management. The facility manager can influence the use of alternative products and mitigating waste by taking a holistic view of supply chains and their place in the circular economy. The facility manager contributes to climate action planning to ensure appropriate technologies, responsible consumption, efficient energy use, and carbon accounting. The facility manager contributes to the responsible use of water, wastewater treatment, and the management of sustainable waterways while respecting aquatic and marine ecosystems. How people manage the built environment impacts directly on the consumption and pollution of water and is an essential resource for life. The facility manager contributes to the sustainable development by reporting locally, regionally, and globally. Feeling insecure, vulnerable, and uncertainty has a significantly impacts on people's perception of the quality of life. And through an indirect relationship, the facility manager supports partnership for sustainable development locally, regionally, and globally. ISO recognizes the importance of global partnerships, and the International Standards Organization has developed collaboration and consensus for a wide range of stakeholders worldwide, including representatives from government, industry, and standardization bodies. Overall, as a first step, if you want to implement or include the SDGs in a facility management operation, organizations must assist themselves by familiarizing themselves with the SDGs, seize the most important business opportunities presented by the SDGs, and reduce risks for organizations and define the priorities based on an assessment of their positive and negative current and potential impact on the SDGs across the value chain. Then, goal setting is critical to business success and helps foster shared priorities and better performance across the organization. By aligning an organization's goals with the SDGs, leadership can demonstrate its commitment to sustainable development. Integrating sustainability into the core business and governance and embedding sustainable development targets across all functions within an organization is key to achieving the goals. And lastly, the SDGs enable the organization to report information on sustainable development performance using common indicators and shared sets of priorities. The SDG Compass encourages organizations to build the SDGs into their communication and report with stakeholders. So that, in summary, is what facility managers contribute to sustainability, resilience, and adaptability within the organization.
Thank you, Professor Widener. That was indeed an eye-opener in many ways, that how, the built environment community touches upon all 17 SDGs, and particularly the role of facilities management in supporting those SDGs. So with that, let me move on to Professor Ines Flores-Colen to share her thoughts on this subject as well.
It is okay?
Yes.
Okay. So let me put here. Okay. So thank you for the invitation. It is a pleasure to be here and make a short presentation about how does building pathology contribute to sustainability. So my presentation is divided in, first I will briefly talk about the CIB 86 Commission, then the definition, what is the building pathology. In the third part, I will relate shortly the building pathology with the facility management, and then the contributions of building pathology to SDGs and conclusions. The CIB Commission is essential focus on the building pathology knowledge, and should be applied in the whole life cycle built environment. So design, construction, and management of buildings. This CIB Commission has 26 members from 14 countries. When we talk about building pathology, we think about a systematic study of the building, and in this case of built environment, to try to understand the effects, the causes, the consequences, and also try to think about the solution in a structural way. So we have here an example of the causes can be related with errors of design, of construction, of maintenance, natural aging, external agents. So we have defects in a building that can, if we don't think about and if you don't monitor the condition of the building, we will have failure. And if we have failure, we need to have a preventive action. So building pathology deals with this in a systematic way. In terms of the relationship between building pathology and facility management, we are considering the operational and maintenance and sustainable built environment. So if we integrate effectively building pathology, we'll have good insights, valuable insights for decision making, risk mitigation, and performance optimization of facilities. As Professor Ted said, we are thinking about people, space, process, and also technology. So in this case, building pathology helps also in FEM in that course. In terms of contribution to sustainability, because of the short, and I try to highlight the main SDGs that I considered for building pathology. So I selected 5. the 3, the 9, the 11, the 12, and 13. And it's only to discuss a little bit about how can building pathology contribute to these SDGs. So first, for example, the SDG 3. Building pathology can, if identify the defects and solutions for to give a good environmental indoor environmental conditions, we are promoting healthy environments. For example, if we identify or minimize the risks, we can also contribute to a good occupational safety. In SDG 9, we can also, because we are talking about innovation, we can think about smart facility systems or innovation in maintenance strategy. So integrating building pathology with building management systems, IoT and digital twin, we are increasing our capacity to make a good diagnosis and to have a real monitor assessment of the performance of the building. So we are increasing our capacity, and also we are innovating in maintenance strategy. If we make a continuous monitoring of the condition, we can also think about when it is possible, when it is, so the proactive maintenance could be also a good way to think, because we are making a prevention approach. So this is related with the other one. So also 11 SDG. So as I said, the preventive and predictive maintenance. So we are preventing degradation, ensuring safety and durability. And when we are guaranteeing a durability approach in terms of, for example, good retrofitting solutions, we are reducing consumption, also waste, and also resources. So we are making a sustainable approach. Built environment performance, pathological assessments to prioritize interventions, maintain service levels, and extend the service life. In this case, when we extend the service life, we need less intervention. So we are guarantee also a good sustainable approach. And SDG 12, in this case, as I said, we are optimizing resource management. So if we diagnose these defects, if we identify a good target repairs, not a full replacement without any structural knowledge. So we are identify the planning, the exactly interventions we can implement, and then we can reduce the material consumption and the construction waste. Also, data-driven asset management provides technical evidence to support sustainable procurement, budgeting, and life cycle planning. And the 13. In this case, we can also talk about the energy conservation. So pathology findings to identify, for example, thermal defects, air linkage, or envelope degradation can enable retrofits that reduce energy demand and energy also consumption. And building pathology, it can help also to choose or to decide the low carbon interventions that can reduce also the embodied carbon footprint. So in building pathology, it can also help retrofitting instead of only demolish and use new construction. So in terms of conclusion, FEM and the building pathology during the life cycle, we can think about the performance indicators that are very important based on diagnosis and a good diagnosis in terms of pathology. we also can give some priorities for maintenance intervention and reduce the reactive maintenance. If we monitor the condition and also see the regulations, it is important because we are also focused on health, safety and environment performance of the buildings that directly have consequences in the occupancy level in terms of comfort, usability and safety. So all these is important to think about. So to finish my presentation, building pathology evaluates and monitors the condition of the built environment, supporting the implementation of sustainable practice during the life cycle of the buildings. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Flores. Let's move on to Niluka. Professor Domingo, over to you, please.
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. And thanks, Ted and Ines, for the great start to the discussion. In the next 10 to 15 minutes, I'm going to briefly introduce the critical strategies for net zero carbon in facilities management, and they are linked to SDGs. As you all know, built environment is responsible for nearly 40% of global carbon dioxide emissions, and out of which 3/4 is responsible for the operational stage in a built facility. So this provides both a challenge and an opportunity for facilities manager to contribute to climate change because it's uniquely positioned at the intersection of water, waste, energy, and human behavior. So in the next few slides, I'm going to briefly introduce some core net zero carbon strategies in FM and their alignment with SDGs, and also add a little bit towards the end on how to empower facilities management professionals to achieve these goals. In my view, the three core net zero carbon strategies in FM are energy efficiency, use of renewable energy, and data-driven carbon management, which are closely aligned with SDGs 7, 13, and 9. If we take energy efficiency, it's the low-hanging fruit because simple upgrades like LED lighting, installing HVAC systems, and occupancy sensors in built facilities can immediately reduce carbon and save cost. And if we look at use of renewable energy in built facilities, this is also a key zero carbon strategy, which must be embedded into FM strategies, whether through on-site solar, green procurement, or partnering with clean energy providers. And facilities management can bridge between this energy supply and day-to-day activities to monitor the impact. And another key strategy is data-driven carbon management in buildings, because data is the key to make any decision. So through real-time energy monitoring, installing carbon dashboards and digital twins allow facilities management teams to track performance, identify inefficiencies, and make evidence-based decisions, because you can't manage without if you can't measure or if you don't know the actual figures. And if we really want to move towards net zero in facilities management, we should not forget about embodied carbon emissions, which we need to consider if we want to repair, renovate, and refurbish built facilities. So this is basically about how we manage waste during the operational phases in a built facility that aligns very closely with responsible consumption and production, SDG 12, and sustainable cities and communities, SDG 11. So minimizing during maintenance, repair, and retrofitting activities, minimizing waste through reuse, recycling, and responsible procurement must be a standard practice. And this also can include selecting suppliers who share the same sustainability values and specifying products with recycled contents, designing out waste from the beginning, and also in selecting materials, prioritizing low carbon materials, select materials with long lifespan, because these are key things that as facility managers could consider in reducing embodied carbon and also reducing waste generation and achieve circular economy. Whether it's flooring, cladding, fixing, or whatever, this can significantly influence buildings' long-term carbon footprint. And also, facility managers should not forget the asset longevity in making these decisions. So I would say that planned preventive maintenance it's not just a good practice, it is a zero carbon strategy. Because by extending the building life span, delays building replacement and also reduce resource consumption over time. And when we talk about facility management, sustainable procurement and supply chain are often the hidden layers of change, because every product we source, every service we contract carries carbon footprint. And this aligns with SDG 9 and SDG 17. And so procurement is a very powerful tool in climate response. So engaging suppliers with low carbon commitment is the first step. And facility managers needs to go beyond price and performance and should ask questions when they procure these suppliers. What are the emissions tracked? Are materials responsibly sourced? Uh, and what are the environmental costs? So these questions needs to be asked when making these procurement decisions, so that sustainability is no longer optional. uh, it has to be core requirement in the decision making. And this needs to be reflected in contracts, service agreements, with clear expectations and accountability for carbon performance. Um, and to do this, facilities management cannot operate in isolation. They need to work collaboratively with tenants, contractors, clients, and share the responsibility and drive collective action across the value chain. However, when we push towards this initiative, facility managers need to be mindful on who this net zero carbon is for, because it should not come at a cost of social equity. So when making decisions, facility managers need to, whether it is energy retrofitting or installing smart building technologies, they should not exclude or disadvantage vulnerable groups, which align with SDG 11 and SDG 10, reduce inequalities. And in that sense, I think that facility managers has a powerful role in shaping the spaces that are not only low carbon, but also human centered. And at this point, I would say that FM in net zero is a bold ambition, uh, depending on how the industry works, because it has its own challenges, like sustainable technologies, retrofits often require significant investment long before the payback is visible. So upfront capital cost is a major barrier. And there's also clear technical knowledge gap, where many facilities management teams are still building their understanding of carbon accounting, renewable energy integration, into building circular practices, and perhaps there can be some resistance to change too. So there's always this cultural and operational beliefs that keeps us doing things the old way that we did things. So to overcome these challenges, we need strong leadership and policy incentives, um, and integration between facility managers with design and construction phases, and some cross-sector knowledge sharing. So like I said, to achieve all this, we need to empower facility management professionals, because this is at the heart of the mission. This aligns with quality education, SDG 4, SDG 13, and SDG 17 partnerships for the goals. And first, we must build this strong knowledge and skills. That means providing targeted training in carbon literacy, use digital tools like energy dashboards, building management systems, and certified programs in carbon accounting, net zero pathways. So these should no longer be optional. These must be compulsory for FM professionals. And also, as tertiary education providers, we should integrate these net zero frameworks into our diplomas, undergraduate and postgraduate programs that we offer. And also, we should encourage these facility management certifications and CPD programs where professionals can get additional knowledge on these new strategies and how to implement this in their day-to-day practice. So those are some of the key things that we could do to empower facility management professionals for net zero. And of course, knowledge alone is not enough. We need to change the behavior, attitude of the people, so that when sustainability skills are formally acknowledged and in the industry, then the facility managers gain credibility for what they do, and this drives the uptake of zero carbon strategies across the sector. So, like I said, collaboration is key, and industry and academia needs to be strengthened, establishing these professional networks and stuff like that to encourage good practice, share good case studies, share good practice, and research is key to achieve this. So, in summary, facility management is a key area in operationalizing zero carbon, but we need change in mindset, system, and skills to meet these goals. And the journey to net zero in facilities management is not just technical, it is transformational. And you can't manage when you don't understand. So education comes first in this journey. That's basically all what I want to say for now. And thank you very much, and happy to take any questions.
Yeah, thank you, Niluka. All three of you have set the stage very nicely in terms of, the role of facilities management in influencing all 17 SDGs, the need for building pathology, and how that needs to be incorporated for aging infrastructure. And then, of course, the net zero carbon and the challenges thereof. So let me open the floor for Q&A. And I know that a lot of questions have come in, so let me reach out to Olu. Oluwaseun, please open your mic and ask your question. Olu, are you? No, Olu, is Olu there?
Yes, I think he has a mic problem.
I'm here.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much for the presentation. So my first question is, in your experience, how can facilities management teams, balance the immediate operational demands of existing buildings with long-term sustainability goals like the net zero carbon, especially when working within budget constraints and legacy infrastructures?
Well, you identified one of the big issues, and that's budget constraints. And so the facility manager, it can always identify ways of making the facility more sustainable, more resilient, address other parts of the SDGs. The real challenge, because facility organization provides a service to the demand organization, the larger business, you need to be aligned with the goals of the larger business and then develop the plans and then the benefits, plans, costs, and benefits associated with any development towards meeting the SDGs for the organization. It's a balancing act, an engineering effort, but it also is a budget and responsiveness effort for the people that you're serving.
Ines, Niluka, you want to?
Yeah, so it's a very good question, because now at the moment, like I said, zero carbon is not a compulsory thing. It's always optional. So when there's budget constraints, the first thing a team would kick out could be their targets for net zero, because it's not mandatory at the moment. So this is one of the biggest challenges in achieving net zero, especially when it comes to existing buildings, because the people don't know the payback time, and there are a lot of different prejudgments that trying to do these things can cost more than the normal construction, normal renovation work. So these are the key challenges at the moment. So basically, it's all about what the project wants to achieve. So there are always ways, if a project wants to prioritize these things and implement these things. But again, if it is not, then it could be something that they don't want to do at all. So that's what I want to share.
Maybe I can add also something. I think it's very important, the stakeholder engagement, because the professionals, the academia, the industry, and also the society, because as Lucas said, for example, building pathology, we don't have a specific standard. So when we don't have a specific legal demand, sometimes it's very difficult to apply as maintenance. That's why we have a lot of problems of the aging of our stocks, residential stocks and other buildings. So I think also not only education, as you already said, but also the stakeholder involvement, all the parties, is important to be aware of the importance of this, is my thought.
Thank you, Olu, for that question. Let's hold on your second question for now and then come back to it later, if that's okay with you. Ghanem, let's go to you next. Please open your mic and ask your question.
Thank you for such an informative presentation. My first question is, what role does building pathology play in identifying barriers to sustainability within existing structures? And how does this relate to long-term resilience?
Building pathology provides a systematic framework, as I said, to diagnosis. So we diagnose physical defects, we diagnose, for example, performance limitation, related, for example, to energy performance or also environmental inefficiency. So when we try to contribute to all these, we are making good insights for a critical and good making decision in terms of retrofitting of the buildings. This is related with long term, because when we have this knowledge, this base knowledge, we are also in condition to have a good choice in terms of the planning of that retrofitting and also the good solutions. So try to minimize and think about sustainability. For example, reduce the energy consumption, the materials consumption, and for example, waste and so on. So when we think about this, we are also thinking about durable solutions. And in this case, durability also reduce all these and are related with sustainability. So the long-term resilience is also the capacity. We are increasing the capacity to respond to the needs over time with a good decision-making for retrofitting solutions. I hope that it was clear.
Oh yeah, it was very clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to jump in? All right. Well, thanks, Ghanem. Let's hold your second question for now and come back to it again later. Let's go to Ala. Ala, please open your mic and ask your question, please.
Hello everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
First of all, thank you all for the presentation. My question is, how can facilities management be better integrated into early design stages? That's my question. So how can we like integrate the facilities? How can we integrate the facility management into our early stages in order to support the sustainability goals? Early design stages.
Very good question. To a great extent, it depends on how the facility management organization is organized itself and how it fits in with the demand organization. The facility management organization can very clearly provide good guidelines to design architects and engineers to create a more sustainable, resilient facility. However, many organizations keep the capital planning, new projects from the facility manager, and that presents a challenge. So in fact, I'm doing some research now where the handoff between the two organizations can be very bad, and it hurts the overall operation. But in the ideal world, the facility manager is leading the development of new facilities, maintaining a goal of addressing all of the SDGs or as many as possible, and addressing the other needs of the organization.
Maybe I can add something. For example, a project manager that starts in the collaboration with all the designers. If this project manager has also the facility manager knowledge, can be starting from that point. So maybe I think, yes, we need to have earlier that kind of knowledge. But as, for example, in the project management, we can introduce that. It's an idea.
Yeah, and if I may add, we have this early contract involvement in construction, where we bring construction professionals early on to the design stage to get their knowledge to make the design better. So likewise, if we can bring the whole team in advance, then that is also another way of integrating and considering the requirements of in the facility management point of view during the design stage. That would also help.
Thank you, Ala, for that question. Let's hold on your second question also, and let's move on to Yash. Yash, open your mic and ask your question, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for this presentation. My first question was, what are some of the biggest challenges in adopting net zero carbon strategies in existing buildings? By existing buildings, I mean buildings which are constructed in the last century. So they're pretty old. They didn't have these goals at that time. And so just wanted to know what you think about it. Thank you.
Yeah, I have covered a little bit during my presentation about challenges to net zero. But when it comes to existing buildings, I think there are a couple of key challenges. One of the key is not available data on these buildings to make informed decisions, because most of the building stock we currently have, there's no way of getting this information about what are the materials used, their specification, and how people, unless they maintain records, uh, in which in most cases they don't. Like when did they last do the repair maintenance activities. So all these records are important to make informed decisions on which building materials needs to be replaced by when, and how these zero carbon strategies can be adapted to these existing buildings. So one of the key is lack of data on existing buildings. And other than that, if we want to retrofit these buildings to be zero carbon, then there could be some regulatory barriers, because most of the countries still these things are not compulsory. So, and also some of the building codes do not support some of these changes required. And also maybe investment decisions, like sometimes it depending on how long the existing facility can last, that investment might not be worth. So those are kind of key challenges, I would think, in transforming these existing buildings to net zero.
Thank you so much.
Ines, you want to add to that?
No, I agree. So that's why building pathology is also very important, because when we talk about these existing buildings, we need to understand what we have there. And they have different constructive solutions, different materials. And that's why it's very important to characterize the existing before thinking about the strategy.
Yeah, indeed. Yash, hold on to your next question. I'll come back to you just in a second. But let me go to Jim. Jim, go ahead and ask your question, please.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess my question centers around measurability of the sustainability functions of these topics. There's a lot of trade-offs in construction, whether you're trying to save energy or use a more sustainable type material, cost factors. Is there a common measurement that facility managers or owners can use to drive toward, the optimum type design?
Any thoughts?
I can, if there are any tools, we have a lot of tools. For example, when we talk about the life cycle assessment in terms of comparing also the energy savings and so on. So I think there are several tools, but sometimes they are not all integrated. And as Niluka said, the data is very important. Sometimes we don't have that all data. So it's my first comment to the question.
Yeah, if I may add, I don't think there's a common measurement, but there, like Eins mentioned, there are a lot of ways of measuring these, like energy use in a building, and we can use BIM as one of the ways of tracking all these things, and there are energy measurement tools. So there are tools, but it's all about integration and use and analyzing this data for better use of these data in managing facilities. So yeah, that's my comment on that.
Yes, and in the research, we have already see some studies related, for example, BIM with life cycle assessment or BIM with maintenance. So
Digital twins.
digital twins when we have a real monitoring data.
Yeah.
So I think we are in the way. We are paving the way.
Well, and in summary, it's easy to say that this is a great research opportunity for those who are interested in combining the measurements and SDGs and facility management issues.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. Thanks, Jim, for that question. Some other questions have come in. So let's say, Lassia, are you with us? Can you open your mic and ask your question? Is Lassia here? All right. Well, let's move on then. How about Olu? You had a second question that you had sent in.
Yes, I
You
sent
want to
in.
ask that question, please?
Yes, sir. So my second question is, considering the global diversity in building codes, climate, and the economic capacity, how can these strategies be adapted to equitably, across different regions to ensure that sustainability and resilience goals don't become, exclusive to wealthier countries?
There's always an economical solution. It may not get you to 100% of your goal, but it's possible. I'm working on a research project right now that looks at the differences in building codes for multifamily residential construction, because in the United States, there are at least 50 different versions of building codes, of the model building codes that each state applies. So it doesn't really matter whether it's wealthier or not, the problem still exists. So you must identify your goals and opportunities and figure out how far you can get.
Thank you, sir.
And also some guidance documents, for example, that can generalize and then specify for each country, but a general guidance, it's also important. So the research projects, working groups, they are very important to have inputs to that.
Yeah, I agree to that.
Thank you, Olu, for that question. Ghanem, you had another question also. Go ahead, please.
I guess my second question is, how does data-driven diagnostics in facilities engineering enhance decision-making for sustainable building management?
Data-driven diagnosis. So we are considering a different orientation concerning the objectives. So your question is how to help. Okay, so first it is important to have the data, structured data. I think the main challenge that we have nowadays is to have a structured data, because that's why it is important that data driven and identify exactly the objectives, because we can use machine learning, other emerging techniques, but we need to have a good volume of data to deal with that. So I think data-driven, it's very good in terms of diagnosis in a building pathology to help the decision-making. But first, we need to have databases and the data that is well structured. So I don't know if I answered your question.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Let me add, there's already fault detection diagnostics technology available using facility data to make daily operational decisions. But if you don't have that, I would say the first thing you need to do is identify the goals of what you're trying to accomplish. Then identify the data necessary to help you accomplish those goals. Then start gathering the data and figure out how you're going to interpret it.
Thank you. Thank you for that question. Let me see if Lasya is around. Lasya, are you there? No? Okay. She had a good question. And the question is, how can FM teams align daily operations with SDG goals effectively?
It's an issue of coordinating with the demand organization, with the stakeholders, and identifying what's important to them, developing a plan, identifying the cost of the plan, identifying the benefits and the sequencing, and then executing using metrics that will demonstrate that the goal has been achieved.
Anybody else wants to add to that? All right, let's move on. Yoshi, you have a good question. Go ahead and ask your question, please. Yoshi Zhang. Oh, not here. Okay. Well, let me. So I have a bunch of questions also. So let me throw in my questions and maybe they join us again, and we can take audience questions. But before I do that, let me ask the audience if there is a pressing question that they want to ask. Anybody in the audience? Okay. Well, let me ask my question then. So, Niluka, let me start with you. You mentioned in your presentation about circular economy. And, in a lot of discussions that has been coming up. So my question is that, in achieving net zero carbon or even in facilities management, what are the shortcomings at the present that need to be overcome before we can truly rely on circular economy to achieve net zero? And I mean, you mentioned there's a behavioral change that is required, right? So all of those factors come into play. So go ahead, your thoughts, please.
Yeah, I think circular economy has a big role to play in achieving net zero carbon because, as we know, in most of the countries, construction waste is around 50% of the total waste in that particular country, around 30 to 50%. So that's huge. So, and that's all ended up in landfills and it's not sustainable at all. So that's where this circular economy principle comes in, rather than sending these into landfills or waste sites, to find a mechanism whether it can be reused, recycled, or there are a lot of R frameworks available, remanufacturing, to see whether these materials can have a second life or third life. And also, so this applies to building demolition, refurbishment as well, not only new construction. So this helps with reducing especially embodied carbon portion. There are two carbon types, operational carbon and embodied carbon. So circular economy is one of the key ways to reduce this embodied carbon portion in a building. And I think, but the challenge is again data, because when we demolish a building, we don't know whether how long this building is in operation, what are the design specifications, because we don't have this life cycle tracking mechanism at the moment in most countries, including New Zealand. So people can't make right decisions whether the material is ready to go for another cycle, whether it's not worth investing on it. So we need kind of a mechanism to do this type of life cycle tracking of data on these materials to make informed decisions. What we do at the moment is just by looking at the material, decide whether it's good enough to reuse or recycle or whatever. But yeah, so so there are some challenges and also some attitude issues as well, and also some compliance and regulatory issues when using a material coming from a secondary cycle. Sometimes there can be some issues with consenting and all that. So it has its own challenges, but again, it's one of the key strategies to achieve net zero. And yeah.
Thank you, Niluka. Ines, Ted, anything to add to that?
No.
So let me explore that question a little bit further. You know, and Niluka, you mentioned about you know, behavioral change, and I want to pick up on that. So the question always comes up, you know, in the contractual environment that we have, where if it is a lump sum contract, you know, the contractor is not really incentivized in that sense to adopt new technology, right? So the owner needs to be taking the lead in these situations to sort of require that it should be, you know, we need to look at maintaining the building, or we need to, you know, look at net zero carbon or these achievements. What are your thoughts, you know, collectively as a panel, in terms of you know, what a contractor can do and what an owner can do to achieve these objectives?
I think in most of the cases, if we really want to go for net zero carbon, it should be owner driven, because contractors always drive with the profit, right? They also always want to increase their profit margin, rather than, unless things are compulsory, mandatory in that particular country. But at the moment, unless it is client driven, most of these practices are not in place. So I would say that client has a major role to play in achieving these goals, and sometimes it comes with the social responsibility that they want to show to the others, and maybe if a company wants to show that they are sustainable oriented or something, then they go for these type of initiatives. Unless things get mandatory by the governments, that's why I said these things are hard to implement, and that's the one of the major challenge at the moment in zero carbon. Although there are Paris Agreement where all governments committed to be net zero around 2050, 2060, around that time. And from TG 124, we did a paper looking at different policies in different countries regarding net zero, and we came across that most of the countries has their own acts for climate response. But the problem is, although these acts are available, people still don't want to, there are no mandatory guidelines. For example, if we take New Zealand, we have Climate Response Act, But the current government stand is they support industry initiatives, but they are not going to make anything mandatory because probably they don't have enough financial support to give to these sectors to get these initiatives done. There are a lot of issues around that, yeah.
Thank you, Niluka. Anybody else wants to add to that?
For example, what I can say in Portugal, it's okay. So the CO2 emission, we are aware. So especially the industry, but we know that there are more than only CO2. So we have another environmental indicators. But I think the industry is getting aware of that. Now is DPD of materials, only the materials that only focus the first stages. So the contract, it's only in question of the materials and not only the life cycle, as Niluka said, that we should consider all the life cycle of the built environment. And for example, we have mandatory that incorporation is so small, but it's a small incorporation of a recycled material. So we have already some concerns about incorporating recycled material. So I think, my opinion, we are in the beginning. So to put in the contract, we need to have the guidance and the policy from the company, and because it will be difficult to have some measures, quantitative measures.
I agree with my colleagues, and I would just add that mandatory requirements, building codes, and so on generally are the minimum standard, minimum achievable standard. And the ISO standards are simply recommendations and attempt to be or attempt to demonstrate best practices in how to accomplish your goals. But in reality, it's up to the owner. And I use a phrase that I've heard many times, and that's the golden rule. He who has the gold sets the rules, and it's the owner because the owner is paying for it.
Yes, indeed. Ines, let me come back to you again with a related question, which is that, you're talking about from a building pathology point of view, that we need to figure out ways of how to increase the life of an existing building so that the end result is much better on the environment and so on and so forth. So the question that comes to mind is that where do we draw the line in terms of expense versus benefit accrued in maintaining old buildings?
So that's why it's important to have that knowledge, because we have exactly existing buildings that have some, for example, cultural value, and that case the approach is different. It's not an approach based on only the service life. It's based also only cultural value. So the approach will be different. But we need to understand exactly. We need to define the criteria. That's why it is important to have a good diagnosis and have data for that. We can have non-destructive data. We can collect information. So at this moment, we can have historical data. Sometimes it's difficult related with the existing buildings, but if we have historical data, we can make more predictive models. But if we put sensors, or if we put other techniques that can also have real-time data, we can also improve. So my question my answer to your question is exactly the criteria. The criteria should have not basis only on a physical aspect. It can be a multi-criteria. It can be environmental issues. It can be technology also, because, for example, obsolete solutions that we already have, cultural, in some cases, social. So it's a multi-criteria that we should have instead of demolish or modernize the building.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ines. In the interest of time, I'm going to ask one more question, and then we still have time for that. And Ted, let me pick your mind on something that you had mentioned. In terms of facilities management influencing all the SDGs, and that was really a very good summary in terms of how one can think about FM and SDGs together. But my question that was coming to my mind was that in terms of pre-planning, design, construction, what would be your thoughts on how designers, contractors, owners during the pre-planning stage can already start thinking about the building from that stage or the facility from that stage in incorporating the SDGs or influencing the SDGs in a positive way?
I have the added benefit of having worked across all parts of facilities, the planning, design, construction, operations, and maintenance. And it can be very difficult sometimes to get designers to pay attention to their end product. Usually they come up with a design, they take pretty pictures of the completed project, they put it in their publications, and then they move on. Because they don't have a requirement for visiting the facility and seeing if it's working the way it was designed, intended, and if all the parts are working the right way. And maybe the appropriate way to convince them is to require a 5-year, a 10-year, or whatever return visit and tie some of their fee to successful operation of the facility after it's been used for a while. I don't know how many designers you'll get to sign on to that deal. And so it's really a problem for the owner.
Thank you. Anybody else wants to? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, Mark, we have this in BIM, we have this 6D and 7D BIM, right? Which is for sustainability and facility management. But we don't know how many projects actually implement this and keep track on these things throughout the life cycle of a building. So that's where the problem is. because people can't get the team together to do go beyond 3D, 4D in BIM. But if we can implement 6D, 7D, then we are there.
Great. Let me ask one last question, and I'll ask you 30-second response. So that will wrap it up. Your final thoughts on, or what would be your advice to our audience in terms of how facilities management can influence SDGs? What needs to be done? Ted, let's start with you.
Because it all falls down on starting off with the right foot on good planning, the facility manager should work to identify the steps required to address each one of the goals and then provide a clear roadmap of what the benefits will be, what it will cost, and how that fits in with the organization's overall operating goals.
Great, thank you. Ines?
Yes, I think good examples, like benchmarking examples, could be good to put in practice, because we are integrating all these concepts. So building pathology is related with facility management and also net zero. So we need to have an holistic approach because the complexity of buildings is increasing, and also the methodology. So we need to simplify and implement. So good cases could be interesting to be as an example.
Okay, great. Yeah, Niluka?
Yeah, I think, like I said during my presentation, I think facility management is at the intersection of managing all these things, especially when it comes to sustainability net zero. They are the ones who have access to all the data. And they are the ones who can manage, but I think what they need is proper recording of these things, so and maintaining these records and get informed decisions based on that, so that they can drive the facility towards the right direction.
Great. Thank you all very much. We have just about reached the end of our time. And thank you for taking time, Niluka, especially you. You know, it's very late for you or early morning for you.
Thanks for
And
and thanks
also,
for the opportunity.
Indeed. And Ines, thank you also. It's also late for you in the evening, but I appreciate all of you taking time on a Friday and discussing this very important topic about facilities management and the influence on SDGs. So thank you all again. This is a recorded session, so the recording would be available to all viewers now in just a few days. And so I want to thank all our audience also for the very interesting questions that they have asked, and stay tuned for the next week's panel discussion that we will have 1 week from today. So thank you all again, and see you next time. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.